Hello, my name is Nick Pert, and this is my DVD on the Slav Defence. It's a total repertoire for black against d4, d5, c4, c6. Just to give you some background on myself, I'm currently a chess grandmaster. I've been a grandmaster now for 10 years. I used to be World Under-18 champion, and I was a very strong junior player. I won the British Under-21 championship 3 times, for example, and I've won very, very many tournaments. At the moment I do a lot of coaching. I'm the head coach for the English Chess Federation, and that occupies a lot of my time, but I still enjoy playing. I still play at a competitive level. I played for the England team on many occasions. Now, the Slav is an opening which I first started playing just before I got my Grandmaster title, maybe about 1 or 2 years before I got my Grandmaster title. I used to play the Dutch Defence all the time, and I struggled a little bit to hold some of the stronger Grandmasters in the Dutch Defence, and I was looking for a more solid repertoire which I could play in order to draw with a slightly stronger player who was very well prepared. So I decided on the Slav. I can't remember how I came to that decision, but ever since I've decided on it, I seem to have enjoyed playing it, and now I play it as my main weapon. And I don't actually just play it to draw, I actually play to win a lot of times with the Slav. I play it more or less against all my opponents, and the majority of players I play, as I play in England a lot, are slightly lower rated than me, so I have to go for the win. So I think I've given you a total repertoire here, a really strong attacking play for black, attacking plans for black in most of the variations, and ways of just getting an equal position, but with plenty of chances to play for the win, or sometimes trying to take over the initiative and go on the attack. I think in all the variations, black seems to be doing totally fine. I mean, it's been played by a lot of the strongest players in the world, so it's going to be a very reliable opening. I mean, theory does move in it, but at the same time, it's not too theoretical. You normally end up getting a position at the end of the, some opening theoretical moves, which is more or less equal and offers good chances for both sides to play for the win. And that's what I like about the Slav. It gets you into the game, it gets you a decent position, and then hopefully your chess skills will shine and you'll be able to win some nice games. So I'll just quickly go through some of the lines that I've looked at. So after d4, d5, c4, c6, I've looked at knight f3 as the main move, and black plays knight f6. And then the main variation continues knight to c3. I'm going to be looking at d takes c4, which is the classical Slav. Obviously, you could play other moves such as a6 or e6 and g6. They're all different types of Slav. I'm going to be looking at d takes c4. The main line after d takes c4 is pawn to a4. There are various other gambit lines where I could try, like e4 and e3 instead, and a few other lines which I've looked at as well. So e4, the Geller gambit, or e3. So all these lines have been covered, but the main line is a4. After a4, I'm going to concentrate on the traditional move bishop to f5. Just getting more pieces developed, and then black's got simple plans of trying to get his pieces out quickly. So I've looked at e3, after which we'll be playing moves like e6, bishop comes out to b4, and just developing our pieces very quickly. Knight will come to d7, black can castle, and get like a pretty decent position. So this is the sort of old classical line, quite a solid line. I've also spent a bit of time on knight f5. After knight f5, I'm going to be considering the very aggressive setup, knight d7, and after knight takes c4 and the move queen to c7, aiming to meet g3 with e5. And there's quite a lot of theory in this section, and I've hopefully given a pretty much full repertoire for black against all of the main continuations. So that's a really key section, as it's probably the most theoretical out of all of the lines. I've also looked at the move knight to h4, which is probably the third main move in this variation, and I'm going to recommend the move bishop to g4, which I think is doing pretty well for black at this moment in time. So I've looked at knight e5, e3 and bishop h4 on the main lines. Also gone through a few side lines that white might try as well. Instead of going into the main variation after a4, bishop f5, white's got some quieter ways of playing. For example, after knight f6, he could play moves like queen c2. He could play moves like queen b3, which I've looked at. I've also looked at the variations where he plays pawn to e3. And after that, I'm going to be recommending the bishop f5 line, which is a standard Slav move. And black hopes to just follow up with e6. Normally brings his knight to d7. All the black pieces come out very easily. we'll see that in a lot of positions that I'm looking at, the kind of pawn structure that's going to arise is this pawn structure. And we have this in very many of the variations, and I'm going to give some advice as to how to play positions with this pawn structure, where to put your pieces, what to do about the rook on the open file, when should black castle, and lots of different pieces of advice of how to play this kind of position, which I generally think is quite a good position for black, because you've got a nice solid kingside position, you get all your pieces developed, and I think it's basically a little bit double-edged, so both sides can play for the win, and black's got just as many chances as white, in my opinion, and get some quite interesting games. So that's what I've looked at in the knight f3 and e3 variations. I've also had a quick look at 3 knight c3, and against this I'm going to recommend knight to f6, and after e3 I'm going for the slightly risky move bishop to f5. There are other lines which black can play which are a lot more solid, and this involves a pawn sacrifice in the main line after c takes d, queen b3 and knight c6. Theory on this is very much undeveloped, so it's not that clear who it's good for at the moment, but it seems from a practical point of view black seems to get some quite nice attacking play after queen takes b7 and bishop d7, because white has to waste time bringing his queen back to b3 and back to d1 again, and that gives black a chance to go on the offensive. A lot of the lines which I've chosen are lines where black tries to keep the initiative as much as possible and gives black real winning chances against the white setup. So that's the line I've got in knight c3. I've also had a look at some variations in the exchange Slav and had some ideas how black can play. Some ways black can play solidly against it, also some ways black could play aggressively against the exchange Slav and go for the win. I've not gone for the most theoretical continuations, but I think the lines which I've looked at are very sound, and they offer black a good chance to get an equal game, but with some double-edged nature about it that black can really play for the win. So I think that's more or less most of the main lines which are covered. It's pretty much a full repertoire for black after d4, d5, c4, c6. There are lots of notes which I haven't been able to present in the DVD, which will also accompany the DVD, and if there's anything which isn't on the DVD, you might be able to find it in the notes. If you can't find anything in the notes or on the DVD, then you probably can have to research through a database, but I'm hoping that the majority of ideas have been covered, and this should give you a pretty strong repertoire which you can play as black, or a very strong repertoire which you can play as black, and hopefully after watching this DVD you'll feel comfortable going out there playing the Slav and playing it well and getting some good positions and hopefully getting a few nice wins.